Hello, everyone. Glad to see that you were able to join us today for our webinar. I still see quite a few people joining, so I'm going to wait just about 30 seconds to give everyone a chance to finish joining in. While we're waiting, make sure you have something to drink, a pen for note-taking, or in case you want to ask a question, and we'll get started in about 30 seconds. For those of you just joining, we're waiting for the last few people that are joining in to get settled and ready to go. We'll get started in just a moment. Hi, everyone. Thanks for your patience. My name's George Umansky, and I'm the Director of Learning and Development here at Vicon. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us for this webinar. I'm very happy to be hosting this webinar for you today, the first of many more to come. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type the question into the questions pane, and time permitting, we'll do our best to answer them for you live. And if not, we will reply to you after the webinar is complete and provide you with an answer directly. Today we'll be taking a look at Vicon's newest multi-sensor network camera, the V1020-WIR-360. Our agenda for today is straightforward. We're going to do a product overview, then we'll see the camera in action. We'll discuss various applications, followed by an unboxing of the camera along with some installation tips. Then we'll discuss cost avoidance features built into this camera, and we'll finish with a quick summary and some questions and answers. The V1020-WIR-360 camera is a versatile multi-sensor camera offering great flexibility via its 4 independently adjustable sensors. When it comes to ease of installation and remote configuration, we're going to help eliminate the cost and the need for manual adjustments, that wasted time that technicians have to spend up there pointing the camera heads at specific locations and trying to get everything zoomed and focused properly, while someone else is trying to direct them while they're looking at a PC and talking to them over a radio or cell phone. It will also allow the end user to give you feedback on the camera's position in real time so that you know when you leave, it's right where they wanted it. This camera is capable of being configured remotely from a PC. Built into the camera are several presets, including a 360-degree view, 2 270-degree views, and 2 180-degree views. There are also 2 user-definable presets. You can use these to save any adjustments from a standard preset position. In essence, you're going to be able to customize the views with the independent PTZ controls. Let's take a look at some of the key specifications. It is a 20 megapixel camera comprised of 4 1/2.8 inch 5 megapixel progressive scan starlight sensors with a selectable resolution up to 2592 by 1944 or 5 megapixels. It supports starlight imaging or IR illumination. If you desire color images in low light, you'll use the starlight capabilities. If color is not that important or there is little to no ambient light, you'll want to use the 360-degree IR feature. We can get up to 131 feet of IR coverage. Each of the sensors supports optical zoom. So we have 4 3.1 to 10 millimeter motorized zoom lenses, or 3.2 times optical zoom. The camera supports up to 3 streams, up to 30 frames per second at 20 megapixels, and we support H.264, H.265, and MJPEG protocols. The camera is IK10, IP66, can be used outdoors and indoors, and has built-in smart analytics, and like all cameras from Vicon, it's fully ONVIF compliant. Full specifications can be downloaded in the form of a datasheet directly from our website. This 360 camera is going to provide exceptional imagery, whether it's day or night. As I mentioned earlier, we have 360-degree IR illumination, up to 131 feet or 40 meters of coverage. For the full 130 feet, that's going to require PoE++ power. With PoE+, you're going to get about 98 feet or 30 meters of coverage. If 30 meters is suitable for your application, you can simply connect the camera to a standard PoE+ switch. If you prefer color images in low light and you have some ambient light, then you can use the starlight feature of the camera. I'll demonstrate that for you in just a moment. We also have proactive analytics, including line crossing, line counts, intrusion, area counting, and tamper. Let's see how well starlight works. This clip was taken well after sunset, and we're seeing the 4 cameras in our Volaris VMS client. There is some ambient light available, and you can see the color of the car. We can even make out the yellow color of the license plate. You can see the 2 people walking through the video. One's wearing a red jacket, one's wearing a blue sweater. The picnic table is green in color. Starlight imaging gives you the added benefit of having color images in very low light, as low as 0.03 lux. We offer a wide array of mounts for this camera. It comes standard with a surface mount. We also offer a wall arm, pendant, and parapet mount. We also offer pole mount and corner mount brackets, both of which will require the wall arm and the adapter V1001-adapt. Lastly, we offer you a 60-watt PoE++ injector if you need the full 40 meters of IR illumination. And don't forget, out of the box, it is surface mount capable. Now it's time to see the camera in action. You might notice that it's mounted in the bed of my pickup truck, but right now we're looking at the entry gate to a community as well as a full crossroads intersection. And we're operating in the 360 preset mode. We can see movement through the intersection as well as the security gates to the front. The presets really make installation simple, as they are perfect as a starting point and allow for adjustments. Let's take a look at how to use the built-in presets as well as how to make fine adjustments. I've changed locations and I've repositioned the camera so that we're looking at a small strip center. Currently, we're in the 360 mode. In a moment, I'll select the first preset in the list, 180 wide. I've superimposed an image of the camera so that you can see the sensors and how they move around within the camera. I've also marked the sensors, view 1, view 2, view 3, and view 4. View 2 is typically your forward-looking view, or the front of the camera. As the camera moves to the 180 wide preset, I want you to notice that 2 of the imagers will create the 180 view, and the other 2 imagers will be used to cover the blind spot below the camera. While it's doing its final focus adjustments, you can see that view 1 and view 2 make up the 180 image, and view 3 and view 4 are providing the blind spot coverage. Moving from one preset to another takes approximately 1 minute and 45 seconds in real time. I'm speeding things up for you just a little bit. The last 20 to 30 seconds are final focus adjustments, so you won't actually see any movement unless you look very, very closely at the lenses. The way to know that a preset position has been reached and is completed is to watch the message in the message box. Do not make any other adjustments to the camera while it's still moving to a preset. Wait until the movement is completely done and the message in the message box changes. It should say, now the PTZ is in the 180 wide state, and we can make adjustments as necessary following that. We can look at the camera in live view through Volaris, and make a decision to possibly change the tilt angle of view 1 and view 2 as we feel necessary. This is just showing you that you could make these final adjustments. Notice now, since I made the adjustment, the message box says that the PTZ is not in any preset position. That's because we modified the position away from the preset. And if we wanted to, we could save our changes as a user-defined preset. You can have up to 2. Next, we're going to switch from the 180 wide preset to the 180 telephoto preset. In this case, 3 imagers will be used to make up the 180-degree image, and 1 imager will be used to cover the blind spot. Once the movement to the preset is complete per the message box, we can again make final adjustments, and now the message changes to PTZ not in any preset position, because again, we modified it. We can pan the camera, we can tilt the cameras, we can zoom the cameras, and we can focus them one at a time or all together. And I'm sure you'll agree, this is much easier than hopping in a bucket truck and trying to do this at the camera manually with someone else telling you which way to manually move a sensor or focus a lens. And here you can see it live in Avoidance with the camera superimposed over the 4 images. Next, we're going to reposition the camera to the corner of the building, and we'll put the 270 presets to the test. Make sure you turn the front of the camera so that it points in the direction of the angle the 2 walls make, or on the 45. We're going to go from the 180 telephoto state to the 270 wide preset. I'll click on 270 wide and watch as the camera goes through the calibration, moving the imagers to the appropriate positions. And in this case, I'm sure you're surprised to see that 4 imagers are being used to make up the 270-degree view. As you can see, we're looking along the front of the building, out away from the building, and around the corner of the building. Again, we can make final adjustments, but remember, you can only pan the imagers so far before an imager might collide with another. You'll actually get a message on screen to tell you that they've collided, meaning you can't pan in that direction any further. We'll make some final adjustments to the side of the building to get the best view of the outdoor dining area. We can also show it to the customer and make sure that they're happy with that view as well. So again, 270 wide is using 4 imagers to make the 270-degree view. Now let's switch over to the 270 corner preset. Our imagers are going to go through the recalibration and move to the final preset position. And in this case, what we're going to see is that 3 imagers are used to make the 270 view, and 1 imager is used to cover the blind spot. Maybe you didn't even think about it in the previous 270 wide. We had no blind spot coverage directly underneath the camera. Once we've reached the preset and the message updates, we can make our final adjustments, whether it be to pan, tilt, zoom, or focus until we get the view that not only we want, but that ultimately the customer wants. And remember, once you make that first adjustment, you'll get the message that says PTZ is no longer in a preset position, but you can save that preset as a user-defined preset, so that if someone were to accidentally move the camera, you would be able to quickly restore the position that you originally put it in. And that's done in this section at the bottom of the browser, which is just right at the bottom of my screen. And now we can take a look at this in Avoidance and see all 4 images and even view them separately in full screen mode. I'll just take another moment and show you a couple of other locations. Here's a convenience store with a gas island. And here's a large grocery store parking lot. When it comes to suitable applications, you want to think about areas where a multi-sensor camera will provide you with the best critical perspective or situational awareness. Typically, these are going to be large open areas such as airport corridors, baggage claim areas, or other transportation hubs, perhaps the areas between airport concourses, where people relax while waiting for flights, parking facilities, both small and large, be it a shopping mall or a strip mall or a standalone grocery store, industrial facilities, assembly lines, manufacturing facilities, city streets and intersections. And in big cities, there are many intersections, but there's also a lot of open areas where people gather, walk, and meet. Car dealerships or rental car facilities, concert venues, outdoor parks and recreational areas, seaports, arenas and stadiums, and even some critical infrastructure locations. There are some applications that may not work. Usually, these are going to be where there are vertical blockages because we're not doing the straight down bird's eye view. So you want to stay away from anywhere that has large vertical barriers, such as libraries, grocery stores, certain types of retail facilities, storage warehouses or distribution centers, cargo container storage areas, even though we could use it over in the loading and unloading areas, but not where the containers are stacked high. Aisles just aren't our friends with a multi-sensor camera. These are just a few examples, but I'm sure each of you have other ideas for a good multi-sensor application as well. Now let's take a look and see what exactly comes in the box. The first thing I'm going to do is check the box label to make sure that I have the right part. It is a V1020 WIR-360. Let me spin the box around and open it up and see what's inside. I'll remove the loose items on the top and get them out of our way. Now let's magically unpack the whole box. Well, that was easy. Now we've got our camera, and as you can see, I'm using a piece of the packing styrofoam to support it while I'm working with it. We also have a package of pre-made and labeled connectors. These are our audio in, audio out, alarm in and out, and 24-volt AC/DC power connector if you're not using power over Ethernet. This bag has the hardware for surface mounting along with our security Allen wrench. And in here are two spare grommets. This is the quick start guide and the surface mounting template. If we take a quick tour around the camera, we'll see a couple of different things. First, the top cap/mounting plate is held in place with a single screw. We simply unscrew that and then twist to the open position to gain access to the inside. There's also an electrical conduit port, and the top of the cap is an 1.5-inch male threaded connector for connection to our wall arm, pendant, and parapet mounts. I'll go ahead and take the security Allen wrench out of the bag because according to the quick start guide, the first thing that I need to do is to remove the shipping foam inside the bubble. So I'm going to remove all the screws around the bubble. Now remove the bubble carefully because there is an electrical connection that goes to the center of the bubble to power the IR illuminators. Carefully reach inside and disconnect this connector from the IR unit. Once you have it off, we can go ahead and remove the 4 pieces of packing material. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It might be a good idea to save these inside the box just in case. I'll go ahead and reconnect the IR electrical connection, place the bubble back in place, and then I'll go ahead and tighten those screws. First, I'll tighten until they're just snug, and then I will fully tighten them in a crisscross pattern. There is a piece of plastic protecting the bubble, but I want to go ahead and show you the 360-degree IR illumination section of the bubble. For now, we'll cover this back up just to protect the bubble while we're working with the camera. Now I'm going to undo the locking screw, and this will allow me to then twist the cap to the unlocked position, as you see there, and now I can remove the cap. You can see the twist lock mounting lugs on the camera body and how they made up to the mounting plate. We can also see the screw hole where the locking screw goes into place. Now I'm going to remove the safety lanyard. And if you're doing a surface mount, you'll need to remove the 4 screws holding the mounting plate to the cap. The flat side of the mounting plate would go against the ceiling or the cap, depending on your mounting method. There is also a front marking on this mounting plate for the front of the camera, and that matches up with the Vicon logo on the camera body as well. Like the packing foam, be sure to save those 4 screws or screw them back into the cap as you might need them in the future. In the center of the camera, we see an access plate with 2 grommets, one solid and one with a hole in it. This is for passing through an unterminated Ethernet cable. In the spare bag, there is another grommet with a hole in it that you could use to replace the solid one. You would do this if you were using audio, alarms, or direct power. Then you would pass an unterminated multi-conductor wire through that grommet and make connection to the connectors I'm about to show you. We'll take the access cover off and look inside, and we see all of our connectors for alarm in, alarm out, audio in, audio out, and we provide for you the pre-made cables to use for these functions. These cables and connectors should not be passed through the grommet. Instead, you want to bring in your unterminated wire through the grommets and make the connections under the access port cover. Each of the lead connectors is slightly different, so it's virtually impossible to place the wrong connector in the wrong position. Also notice that there are 2 micro SD card slots. If you put cards in both slots, the total storage will be summed together. Once you've passed all the wires through the access plate and made your connections, the access plate should be replaced. Notice it is keyed and only goes on one way. Secure the 3 screws that hold it in place. Now we can take a closer look at our mounting plate. And again, we see the front marker, which will match up also with the logo on the front of the camera. I'm going to reconnect my lanyard, and I'm going to place this back in place and lock it. This would be my final configuration if I was doing a surface mount. I just wanted you to see what it looks like without the cap on top, which is used when you're mounting to a wall arm, pendant, or parapet mount. Let's talk about cost avoidance. It's a pretty fancy term, which means either you're going to spend less money or you're going to make more money. I think it's a given that this multi-sensor camera will have a lower cost of installation. Some of the reasons it's easy to install I showed you during the unboxing section of this webinar. I showed you how easy it was to prepare, and we went through all of the different mounting methods. Ease of programming is another factor, from discovery to adding it to your system, to the most important part, which is getting the camera's views correct the first time, along with the ability to remotely position the cameras straight from a PC. We'll certainly lower your installation costs. We can add to that the reduced personnel costs, as you would need just one technician to do the install, the setup, and the positioning. It's also easy customer involvement, getting them involved in the initial positioning. This can be a real big time saver, as the customer can customize the camera position with the technician's help and see in real time exactly what the camera is going to see and record. In essence, you get the customer to sign off on the installation, and this is an easy way to avoid nuisance callbacks. What about service calls for repositioning? Something's changed. Someone's changed their mind. Does it really matter? You just know that they want the camera to look at something different. Well, first of all, we don't have to go out and rent a bucket truck like you probably did for the initial installation. That in itself could be a huge savings. It's not just the cost of the rental if you don't happen to own one. It's the time involved of going to get it, then driving it to the facility, using it, then driving it back to the rental facility, and then getting back to the shop. All of those technician hours could be better spent. And if you have remote access to the customer system, you could actually do the repositioning for them remotely. How about end user satisfaction? What do we know about a happy customer? Happy customers tend to buy more when they feel like they've had a good experience. Sometimes they enjoy it so much, they just look harder for ways to give you more business. And last, but definitely not least, this camera comes with a 3-year warranty, so you know that your investment and the customer's investment is protected. To quickly summarize everything we've covered today, we did a shallow dive into the camera specifications. And I'll remind you again, the full specification is available for easy download from our website. We covered all of the different mounting options, and we went through a full unboxing of the camera with some tips for prepping it for installation. We saw the camera in action in several locations, but most importantly, we looked at the camera's preset views and learned what each imager did in a particular view. And we learned how to customize and save a user-defined preset. Then we covered the tip of the iceberg for applications, both suitable and unsuitable applications for this type of camera. And lastly, we talked about cost avoidance and how you can save costs and earn greater revenues with this camera. I do see several questions have come in, but since we're right at our allotted time, I'm going to answer your questions after the webinar is complete. Normally, you should receive an email response within 24 to 48 hours. Also, please feel free to reach out directly to your local sales representative or just fire off an email to sales@vicon-security.com. Provide your phone contact and someone will be in touch with you quickly. Thanks again for taking the time out of your schedule to join us. I hope you found the information worthwhile, and I look forward to speaking with you again during our next session. Thanks everyone, and have a great rest of your day.